The voice in your ears and the face on your screen. I'm Perfect Purvis, and this is Pro Football Sweden, presented by Rare Athletics. It's our first season talking about football in Sweden, so feel free to comment and send us messages about how we're doing. Today, I'm joined by my co-host, Alpha Jallo Juice. What's going on, Juice?
Hey man, what's up, Purvis? How you doing?
I'm good, man. Blessed, brother. It's good to have you here today. We're gonna get started. Thanks to our partners at American Football in Finland, Improve Athletes, and Pro Football Sweden. The PFS podcast is available everywhere you listen to your podcast, and you can see us visually here on YouTube. Wherever you listen or watch, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe. Now let's get into some football. All right, first quarter here on the PFS pod. Let's talk energy from last weekend's games. What was positive? What was negative? Juice, I'll let you start us off. Positive or negative? Go ahead. What you got?
Man, there was a lot of good things to see this weekend. The final week, it's good to see rivalries. It was good to see teams like IECOR, for example. You know, they came to play. Limhamn, they played with an agenda. Stockholm played with an agenda. I love seeing when teams dominate. And obviously, IECOR lost the game, but that was the best football that I've seen them play. And they show a lot of potential for the future. So teams like IECOR that just come up to the I'm about to say the Maple League, come up to the highest division of the Super Series. You know, man, keep the faith, man. Y'all going to get better. You know, they just mixing some imports that will help you guys out in the future. The negatives, you know, the refs, a few calls. You know, I was mad, you know, that one of the plays for IECOR because it could have changed the dynamics. They dropped Akina of that fumble, and I think it's number 36 that picked it up. But I mean, negatives like, man, Tyresö, man, what happened? That's all I got for my negatives. But Tyresö, answer that for me.
It's been so long since I've seen the games. It feels like it's been forever because I watched them over the weekend and we record on Wednesday. But it just seems like it was so long ago. But I'm trying to remember what happened with Tyresö. I know that, it went bad for them quick.
Stockholm just played better. Stockholm just played better. I just keep it a buzz.
Yeah.
Stockholm played better.
Yeah, but there was I probably had something written in my notes, but I forgot about it. Anyways, I'm gonna go over my positives and negatives. I'm gonna go with my negatives first, so I can always end with a positive. All right, man. I've had enough of these bad camera angles. First of all, Oslo, horrible. Couldn't see nothing. Head on tilt. And then KP, K-Town Predators, horrible camera. Like I don't understand. There's Karlstad does a good one. I'm not sure if Örebro does a good one. I can't remember them having a lot of home games, but I think they do a good one. And we know Stockholm does a good one. So it's like, come on, guys. These regular Super Serien teams know how to get it done. I need you old Division I teams to get it up, and also your Norwegian team. Like, come on. Not to the point that, you got to have like great camera angles or whatever, but keep the camera straight and follow the ball. That's all I'm asking. Like, the camera doesn't have to be at an angle, and you don't have to just keep it on the screen. And also zoom in a little bit because I still can't see any of the Predators' numbers. And that's because their jerseys are really weird, but still, I can't see because there's no like zoom in or whatever. But
a positive though, Oslo stream is their commentator is really good. I like listening to him. I like Stockholm's commentator as well. Both of them.
I don't listen to them, but I can respect they probably do have good ones because I think both of those do theirs in English, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna throw out my other negative while I'm here just to get rid of it. The lack of being able to kick field goals by in the AIK and Oslo game. Like, I saw so many missed field goals that could have like changed how the game went. Like, it could have been a whole nother game if teams could just kick field goals. It's just kind of crazy that people don't know how to kick field goals at the highest level. Like, that's just something you should have somebody that can kick at all times. and they were just missing field goals. I seen them miss a lot of field goals. I wish I had the stats, which I don't have, so I go back and look and see how many missed field goals there were, but I did see enough that I wrote down missed field goals. Positives, though. The Limhamn Griffins could kick field goals. I think they made 3 of them in this game,
Yep.
if I'm not mistaken. So somebody could kick field goals. So that's a positive. And then the last positive I got from the whole weekend, similar to what you said, was I felt like it was good football. We saw like good convincing wins. That's what I really liked, is that, Oslo won the game, but it never looked like they weren't going to win or they shouldn't win. Like, they didn't get robbed. They were the better team that day, and they proved it. The game was decently competitive for the most part. That's a good game. Stockholm, they were just way better than Tyresö that day. Again, I'm not sure they can always be that much better, but they did what they have to do, which is they ran the ball, and Tyresö couldn't stop them. And that's how you end up getting ahead so fast. They were able to control the line of scrimmage on both sides and do their thing. And then when you look at the last game, the Griffins were just better than the Predators. I think both teams played decently. Predators just couldn't keep anything going to get on the scoreboard as much as the Griffins could. Griffins were able to do what they wanted to do and had Alexander Nesic, helping them move the ball the whole game. So good weekend of games, in my opinion. So that's definitely a positive. And I guess Antoine Allen's here to talk about some positives as well. So welcome to the show, man.
Thanks. I had to get the kids situated, summer break and all that.
Oh, I don't know. It's not summer break for us yet.
Okay. But yeah, positives from this weekend. I don't know, man. I saw some good football games. It was a little bit, tough to get through all 3 of them, and then trying to catch some of the other games. But yeah, it was good football all around. Yeah. What else? Negative. We on negatives or no? Just positives.
We're done it all, so you can go negatives.
Negatives. I was extremely bored watching the Griffins and the Predators game. Extremely bored. It was Myron Norfleet's first week back after injury, and it looked like he was like a new import quarterback that they had brought in. There was several miscommunications between him and the running back. It just looked. I don't know. It looked a mess, kind of like, and that. I turned it off. I don't know when I turned the game off, but I was just like, all right, I'm done. Like, I can't watch this anymore.
Can I jump in here since we're kind of talking about the Predators, anyways? Did it kind of look like they played worse with him at quarterback than when they had Stenberg?
Yeah, because Stenberg was able to spread the ball around. I mean, I think he tried to. I think Norfleet tried to this past game, but it just didn't work out.
What I thought was crazy was that Norfleet didn't get the ball to Stenberg very often.
Yeah, he didn't this game.
And I don't understand why you have your best threat at a slot receiver and we're not running posts, crosses, slants to him. The few times that he actually was able to find Stenberg were on like some like hitch routes or some like quick hitters where that's the only place you're going. But in the scheme of like actual pass plays, he was running across the middle of the field all day. And I mean, in my opinion, he's always open because he's a big body. But you got a short quarterback. Throwing over the middle isn't where you really want a short quarterback looking. And not to mention there was pressure. So I don't understand why the team hadn't already figured out a way to get, 1, Stenberg on the outside, 2, get him in one-on-one matchups, and then 3, make it a point of emphasis to get him the ball in the pass game instead of having him be one of the receivers. I feel like if that game was for the playoffs and they did not offensively come up with a plan to ensure that their best players had the ball, they have 2 good players, number 1 and number 2. Those 2 guys should be having the ball at all times, and they didn't really do that. So that was disappointing, but again, you ain't supposed to be here, so I ain't really worried about it.
I mean,
D1 team playing like a D1 team.
I mean, but here's what was very disappointing to me about that whole entire game is that I don't know who the Griffins brought in at QB, but they brought some old.
He looked good to me. I liked him. He was confident. He looked like, hey, I've been doing this for forever. Throw it here, I'm gonna hand it off. Like Like you could tell there's a huge difference of confidence in that quarterback. I love it. I don't know who he is, but I love it. The confidence.
Exactly. Yeah, he came essentially. Let's just say he came off the street somewhere. And they're like, "Hey, guy, we need a quarterback for this playoff game, or for this game to get us to the playoffs." And he was like, "All right, bet I got this. Don't worry, light work." And then I like his confidence back there, and it looked like the team was playing. You know how last week I was like, "Oh, it's like big brother versus little brother," and then this is like the big brother and little brother for the South.
Mm-hmm.
They just play with a confidence that's just like, bro, like we've been beating y'all for years. Y'all not gonna start y'all not gonna start winning today and then knock us out of a playoff spot. So it was crazy to me to watch. I didn't expect that from them the way they looked all year, but they looked good.
Because you're the one that talked me into picking the Predators to win, and I've been basically against the Predators all year because I said they're just not a team I like. And then for this last game, I was like, well, you're right. They're going to score enough points. I got to admit, the Griffins haven't really scored a lot of points. And I've like since like week 1, and now they come in. Oh, man. I wish I could have that pick back, though, because I feel like it's another interesting thing. I don't think we got this scheduled to talk, but the playoff scenarios, just to throw this out here, because last week we talked about we don't know if they're doing points or head-to-head. Well, on the standings, AIK is in last place. And it's not by points. It's got to be because they lost to the Predators.
Yeah.
Because they have a lower negative point total. So it was always going to be the head-to-head thing, which meant if the Predators would have won, they for sure would have been in the playoffs. Even if the AIK had won, they would have still made the playoffs over them. But that didn't happen because the Griffins are in the playoffs. So
and then I gotta thank Juice, man. Juice convinced me to choose Stockholm. So thanks for that last week. I was like, oh, thank you for this.
You're welcome.
I mean, the better team won, but
that's no chose.
But let's get into some of the top player performances. All right, second quarter. Top performers is brought to you by Rayer Athletics Apparel and Accessories, made for players by players. More than just accessories, Rayer provides custom jerseys for teams all over Europe. So head over to their web shop at rayer.se and upgrade your drip today. Let's name a couple of guys who stood out from last week's game. Antoine, I'll let you lead this one off. Who stood out to you from last week?
I'm just going to say the Stockholm's offensive line. I mean, the way I know we've been, boasting up their running game and everything like that, but the way that this line is able to create holes for not just Casper, but for all three of their backs is crazy. So I just gotta give them a round of applause. They look extremely dominant. I think they protected the new quarterback well. He looked decent. He looked okay. That running game was just.
What'd you say, Juice? What'd you say about him?
It's his first game.
Yeah. So he looked, he looked all right, but Stockholm has that team, and their offensive line just, I don't know, man. It's just different. It's just different.
That makes sense. What about you, Juice? Anybody stand out to you?
I mean, did y'all not see that opening kickoff return for a touchdown by numero uno? Well, jeez, bro, great play. I thought Limhamn Griffins defensive line played it really well. They did some good stunts to confuse North League and the Predators O-line. I thought that was really good. Bro, numero 6.
Alexander Nessic.
Bro, this dude was balling, man. He played. Yeah. I just knew he would dominate in this game. I knew the return of him coming back to just playing high-level football, scoring 3 touchdowns, 2 touchdowns a game. That was going to be there. Some other guys that stood out to me, Luke, number 2 from ICOR.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he was doing his thing. I like number 70 for ICOR as well. That game I evaluated really hard because I was like, man, this game is actually a pretty good football game. I mean, Akina as well. Like, Akina obviously didn't get as many tackles that he probably could have, but he was flying to the ball. He was getting into the holes when nobody was there in the middle of the field. I was impressed with them. Even though they lost the game, I was really impressed with ICOR.
Their defense has been impressive all season long. Like, that's one thing that we've always talked about with AIK is their defense is pretty good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Then the last guy I want to shout out, Stockholm did good. I like the way that Stockholm defensive back played out. I'm finally glad that they played better. Shout out to Anton as well. Super great catch for Stockholm. But last guy I want to give a shout out to is number 56, the kicker for the Griffins, because he was just.
I'm glad you said his number. Cause I was like, I don't know what number he is.
he was knocking them things in. Boop, boop, boop.
Ugh. Gotta respect a good kicker, man. So for me, I'm just not looking at my list of like players or who stood out to me. The running backs, baby. The running backs. I feel good. It just naturally that's what position I used to play, and that's just what I liked from this week is from AIK, Edgar Wallen. He had a really good game. I know they didn't win the game or whatever, but he was keeping them in it offensively, and he's somebody you can rely on. I think this was the game where he finally had that big long run. I've been waiting for him to have like a long run like that. So it's good that he got that out. But I mean, I know we're not talking about it now, but next year he's gonna be a problem. Like if they like lean on him like they should, he's gonna be a problem. That's a really good guy. He played really good in this game too. I think if they would have gave him the ball a little bit more in certain situations, they might have been able to pull this off. And then another running back, number 8 from the Oslo Vikings, Rune Nielsen. Yep. He's most underrated running back in the league because their offensive line is not very good. And he got to take on a lot of defenders when he runs the ball, but he still gets you 3 or 4 every time. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but that's hard to do consistently. And he's going to give you that consistently. He's a hard runner. He's going in between the tackles. A lot of times they give him the ball, it's a run play. Like they don't give him the ball on like 3rd and 10 or anything like that. Surprising, or maybe something can pop off. No, first and 2nd down, when they got 10 yards to go, they're going to do a run play, and they give him the ball. So everybody knows he's getting the ball, and he's still able to be successful. So he had a really good game, in my opinion. He kind of kept them ahead of the sticks a lot of times and kept their drives moving downfield in this game. And then the other 2 running backs, Mean Machine running backs, Casper Wedberg, as usual, and David Otander. Otander was number 36, I think. This
I don't know. All their running backs was doing work, man.
But Otander and Wedberg were the one that like got the touchdowns this week, and they were rotating them. And what I really liked is that you couldn't really tell what the difference was. It got to be Otander because one time he ran the ball, and I was like, that's Casper, and then the jersey number was different. I was like, oh my gosh, they even running like each other now. Because normally I can tell the difference, but they're all doing such a good job of hitting the hole, breaking tackles, and making sure that the Mean Machines can dictate the terms of the game. And that makes it really hard when a team can run and pass, and then they can put in another running back and stay fresh. Because you'll notice that sometimes they'll put in another guy, and he comes in fresh, and just that energy the defense doesn't have. They can't match it. So between these 2 and the 3rd guy, which I don't know his name, but I know there's a 3rd guy they have as well, just really impressive running back showing this weekend from everybody. And I'm really glad to see it because, we be giving love to all these receivers out here, but these running backs out here putting in work. So appreciate you guys and just want to give you your flowers while I can. I'm sure when the playoffs come, it's going to be, bombs over Baghdad for most of these teams. All right, let's take a quick break and then we'll get to some playoff talk. All right, so we're doing halftime playoff talk. Super Serien is doing playoffs this weekend coming up. So let's look at the playoff picture and discuss possibilities. First of all, number 1 seed, Karlstad Crusaders, they're going to have a bye. Number 2 seed, Stockholm Mean Machine, 6-1, they're going to have a bye. So first matchup that we'll kind of talk about a little bit is Tyresö is the 3 seed. They'll be playing Limhamn Griffins, who's the 6 seed. OBK is a 4 seed. They'll be playing Oslo Vikings, who is the fifth seed. First question, I just want to talk about it. What are your initial thoughts on how it all like shapes up for the playoffs? Like, what are your initial thoughts? Juice, you can go first. Like these matchups and how it all ended. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I like how the season ended, and I like the way that it went. We never can predict how the season was going to go, but it was so nice to not know who was going to be in the playoffs until the last week. So that was one thing that, I like how it shaped up. I'm glad that Oslo got into the playoffs because they represented all of Norway right now. And, they didn't look super great in the beginning of the season because they had to go through that gauntlet of all the tough teams in Sweden. And, just the pride, I'm talking a little bit about Oslo at the moment, but just the pride that they haven't beaten any Swedish team, I don't know, ever or just in the past couple of years, but they finally, you said ever?
Yeah.
I think it was ever. Yeah.
Man. And they finally
now
done
they're
that.
three. Now they're beating three. So
yeah. I mean, they beat three of the lower teams though.
It's still three Swedish teams. Like
Right.
don't try to knock their victories. Like they're not in the playoffs.
I'm patting them on the back, then I just took away the applause, But but the point is, I'm glad that they got in, because I thought there was going to be a top 3 team, and I'm curious to see if I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself to see how the Griffins are they going to play like how they just did this past weekend, where they said, you know what, we're the kings of Skåne, and we're going to make our mark in the playoffs. We want to win this game. They wanted to win that game badly.
Yeah, but it also, that's one of those things. Like, I felt like they wanted to win because they felt like they should win.
Yeah,
and they're not going to have that same feeling in this game. But just to throw that out there, like, one thing we've seen this season is teams have kind of played to their competition more than anything. We haven't seen a lot of teams just go out there and say, hey, this is us. You got to deal with it. We see a lot of teams go out there and say, we're going to see how this goes, and then we'll, try to do this and do that. A lot of teams are very reactive and not really, like, setting the tone. A few times we've seen the Mean Machine and the Carlstadt Crusaders kind of go out there and be like, okay, you got to deal with us. But most teams have mostly reacted. And most of those teams that aren't those top 2 teams, those are who we're going to see in the playoffs. So the playoffs will be super interesting to see how these teams face and how they feel about each other.
I mean,
go ahead.
If you're the Limhamn Griffins, I guess my question would be, what team would you want to play first in the playoffs? What team would that be?
One of the teams is not in it.
All right.
One of them 2 teams that they definitely could beat.
All of the teams that are in the playoffs, which team? I mean, they already beat the Black Knights.
Yeah, I was about to say Örebro, because unfortunately for me, like out of all the established Super Series teams, Örebro is the one that's kind of like there's that in between, like they're in between Division 1 and the Super Series, where like they're the most beatable out of all the 4. So I think Oslo
they're what I would call this. I would call them the standard of what a Super Serien team should be. They have the talent, they have the skill set, and then it's still not Sunday, but it's any given day. Like, they can win or they can lose based on certain things. But if you just look at them on paper and how they play, they're a good team and they can beat anybody, but they can also lose to anybody. Yeah. So that's the standard. These other teams, these, new teams, that I don't think they're all up to that standard, but we've seen Oslo go 3-0 to end the season.
Yeah.
If you got to say anybody is the hot team right now, it's technically the Oslo Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
And a 3-0, I mean, going 3-0 in the last couple of weeks and then heading up to Örebro, I mean, they feeling good. But I think that's definitely the matchup to watch. But I like the way that Oslo did exactly what we said. Like, they finished the season beating all those Division 1 teams, as we said they would do. Shout out Perfect Purpose for saying that on the first episode. Like, I said that. I said that when nobody knew who the Oslo Vikings were. I said
that was me. I didn't know.
But again, like I said at the beginning of the season, they just needed time to get accustomed. And give them another season. I think that the Vikings is an organization that you see that they're adjusting to the type of ball being played in Sweden. While some of these other teams, the Division 1 teams especially, like, I don't see them adjusting to that point. And I think that's going to be a really interesting matchup, like you said, with Limhamn against Tyresö, because it's not the same thing as playing OBK or Oslo. So they're going to have to deal with a lot. But another interesting thing, Tyresö going out there and laying an egg on the last game of the season.
I mean, what did I say at the beginning of the season? I was like, Tyresö beats up on everybody that's not named Stockholm Mean Machines. I said that at the beginning.
You did.
So, that reminds me. So you got the little brother, big brother. Is it really a rivalry though?
Yes.
Yeah.
Listen,
I mean, if
it's a
you
rivalry.
beating up on little brother, it's more like domestic violence, right?
I mean, in a way, but it's like y'all both play in the same city, and y'all are two very well known, very well liked organizations. So yeah, it's a rivalry. Like, come on, you want to be the best of your city, and if you've been losing to a team for 3 years, come on, man. You know what I mean? That only fuels the fire.
Yeah, you're
Right.
right.
It is a big bro situation because it's like, all right, you guys play really well. Like, imagine if you're my big bro, Purves, which you are in this way, and I'm beating up on everybody. But then you just let me know, hey, bro, you little bro, come on. And that's what they're doing to them. That's what they're doing.
You know what? I don't even feel that way because I gotta get my grievance out about Tyresö Royal Crowns because this is the thought I had going into the season, and I don't know how much I've said on the podcast, but maybe I haven't because I've been trying to be nice. Season 1, Sweden and stuff. Trying to be a fan of the people, but my verdict is out on Tyresö. I've said time and time again, most talented team in the league. I still stand by that. Most talented, position for position, player for player. Like, they have the most talent. Talent don't win games. And this team does not play to their potential ever. They play good enough to win. And when they have a huge discrepancy between talent of who they're playing, yeah, they might, show out a little bit, have some dances, do some great things. But when it's on the line and it's close, and you got to, buckle down. You can't joke around. It's going to be close. You got to do certain things right. They don't seem to step up. The same thing when they played against Karlstad. They should have won that game earlier in the year, but they had 4 turnovers. Like, that was uncharacteristic of this team. And now against Stockholm, same thing happens. Not as many turnovers, but you just don't show up. And those are 2 really good teams. And we keep saying, Tyresö is a really good team. They're going down more to me because as talented as they are, that talent doesn't show up consistently. And we have to know that we're playing American football. You have to be consistent. It actually is more important than talent. A team that can run and get you 3 yards is better than a team that can pass and get you 12, but only can do it every 3rd play because you don't get first downs. And that's what Tyresö is showing us, is that, okay, we're going to be good for the season. We're going to be, the Buffalo Bills, the teams that get all the points, get to the playoffs, and then, they're not going to the championship, but they're fun to watch. Or was it Miami Dolphins last year? Yeah, put up all these points, Tyreek Hill, Waddle, all this going on. And, I mean, very similar. They do got some names out there, Tyresö. Yeah, come on, man. That Stockholm game, you lose that by a touchdown or 2, and we're like, okay, cool. But you get demolished at the end of the season, knowing that it's for home field advantage and pride. What is it? Is it the Stockholm Derby? Is that what we're calling it? I don't know what we're calling it.
Yeah, Stockholm Derby. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just disappointed in the way that went down for the season.
I mean, they were missing some key players though.
No. Don't hit me with that bull about we missing players. We don't got everybody. The people you had were good enough to play in that game. Like, don't give me that we missing people stuff. Don't give me that Warsaw Royals excuse. Oh, here we're in Sweden now. Let it ride. Hey, yeah, let it ride. Let it ride. Let it ride. Okay. Well, don't bring that Warsaw Royals mentality to Sweden. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Excuses is excuses, but again, the talent that they have is still good enough to win. And even if you're not going to win, you put up a decent fight. That team didn't put up no fight. I don't care why not. I'm just saying the facts. They did put up a fight.
They've been consistent in one aspect as a team, is that when they play Stockholm, they always get beat like this. They always lose by 2 or 3 scores. They do. It's true. You can go back and look at it. They always lose big to Stockholm. Always.
Well, there you go. That's consistent. If you're gonna lose big. I ain't too mad. Honestly, I ain't too mad at that. It don't hurt as bad when you're losing big because by like 2nd, 3rd quarter, you're already getting over it.
Yeah, but the weird thing about that game was they didn't necessarily play bad. It was just some weird things that just happened to go wrong. And then you give Stockholm great field position, and it's just like, okay, score, which is exactly what they're supposed to do. So it wasn't like
It's a snowball effect, right? Like something
yeah,
went bad, and then it just kept going bad
yeah.
for them, right?
Stockholm
It
played
was,
better. They
yeah,
played
it
better.
wasn't like, oh my god, like they're playing so terrible, like I can't watch this game, because I was like, I mean, they look decent. It's just y'all was just making mistakes here and there. So this
Even
wasn't
more
what
to
it
the fact that this is a big brother game, I think Stockholm, because a lot of those players in Tyresö played in Stockholm many years under Pillback and went back to Tyresö. So make it more of a big brother thing. It's like, look, I can imagine Pillback saying to them, hey guys, if we do this, they're gonna crumble and we're gonna destroy them. They're little bro. I know you so well. That's why it made me think, man, that's little bro. Because you know little bro, doing all these moves, you know his moves, and you know the undisciplinedness of Tyresö. They big bro them, bro. Stockholm big bro them.
Look, I'm gonna throw out my anecdote. I have a little brother who's probably about y'all's age, or probably a little bit older even. But my little brother was better than me at basketball. Like hands down, it's never been questioned. He was always better than me. But whenever we played each other in basketball, I'd take it. He about 2 inches, 3 inches shorter than me. I'd take his ass to the post and let him know this is gonna be all day. And I'd back him down, and then he'd lose the game. He'd be like, but you don't want to shoot outside. I was like, nah, that ain't how we play basketball. This ain't no game of horse. And you know, even the same thing, like when me and him used to get into like fights and we tussle a little bit, he'd be like, okay, let's box. I'm like, nah, bro, I'm gonna wrestle. Like, that's how I'm gonna win this. Like, I'm not gonna box you. You can box better than me, but this is a fight. This ain't no legitimate, this is a fight. So I always knew what it took to beat him. And that's kind of like you said, that's the little brother thing. It's like you said, I could imagine Pilvic saying, you know, they're good, but we know if we do this, they're gonna crumble. And that's exactly what they did. And that's just I want Tyresö to be better.
But one thing too, when it is like a big brother, little brother situation, the trash talk is different too. Because when you know your competition in and out, you know I know what gets under your skin. I know what to say and how to say it to make you just lose control. So that trash talk, I mean, I don't know if they were doing it, but probably. But that trash talk had to be hitting different too, on a different level.
I don't know how much trash talk you could do when you getting steamrolled. Like you just like it happened quick.
Some people gonna talk throughout the whole game. They're gonna talk.
They robbed Kevin Borsay, bro, on that touchdown. They robbed him.
You think so?
Heck yeah.
Okay, all right.
They robbed him.
But just to, I guess, wrap it up, I think this season has been good for Sweden. Is that accurate to say? It's been a good season for Sweden. Having 8 teams. I mean, I'm still going to stand where I stand. I think the Division I teams just really weren't good enough because they all were at the bottom. I know predictions-wise, all the teams I said were going to make the playoffs did make the playoffs. Not in the right order.
Same.
But I said Predators and AIK weren't going to make it, and they didn't. But the order was wrong because the Predators actually beat AIK.
Yeah.
But I had the Griffins coming in 5th. I had Oslo coming in 4th, I think. No, I had Griffins coming in 6th. I had Oslo in 5th, and then I had OBK above them, and then my top 3 was different. But I feel like it shook out how we thought it was going to shake out. The Division I teams all came at the bottom. The winner of Division I the year before is the one playoff team. Like
surprisingly, I mean, not surprisingly, but like a little bit.
If it's one of those things where if you didn't know what was going to happen and you put it in this order, you could have been right. And then even if you watch the whole season, like you're like, no, it's not going to work out. And then it ended up going like that. Sometimes you just can't change destiny. It is what it is. It was destined to go this way. I do think that Karlstad kind of going undefeated was
the biggest surprise.
I don't think anybody saw that. And I'm really glad the way that they did it. I think they really put everybody on notice that they're the team to beat this year. Yeah. And then Stockholm, I feel like I didn't see Stockholm play that much this year for some reason. Like I feel like with the other schedule and them playing like other games, having so many bye weeks, and then when they played, they usually play like half their team or something like that. Like we didn't really get to see them at full force ever. And then even in this last game, I feel like I didn't really see their full force. So I'm really interested to see what they do in the playoffs. I mean, they had the quarterback situation going on towards the end of the playoffs. Even in this last game, if you watch the first half of the game, they're running the ball a lot. Derek Green is, throwing short passes, making a couple here, making a couple there. Later in the game, when they had the game in hand, the Mean Machine started to try to air the ball out more. Yeah. It didn't work. Green and the receivers weren't on the same page. A lot of balls were either thrown to the wrong place or like the receivers wasn't there. Like he overthrew it. Like you could tell like the actual like passing game wasn't ready yet. So it's going to be really interesting for them that they have a bye week before they play again. I mean, obviously it's not the right thing to say, but maybe they should have took the L so they could get a little more practice in, a little more game time for him. But we'll see. I think it's going to be a very interesting playoffs. I still hate the fact that a team can make the playoffs with a losing record, but it is what it is this year. First season of Super Serien with 8 teams. First time in like I don't know how many years. I know they used to have like a 6 or 7 team league a while back.
2017. I think 2017. Because I think my first year. They had 8 teams.
If you're watching or listening, send us a message and let us know when was the last time they had 6+ teams in the league. But doing 6 to the playoffs out of 8 is crazy, and that's where we're at though. So with that, that's a wrap on the regular season. Now we get into the playoffs, man. Let's talk about these games coming up. All right, Super Seriens. Playoffs. We're talking about playoffs this weekend with Tyresö Royal Crowns take on the Limhamn Griffins and the Örebro Black Knights take on the Oslo Vikings. I haven't decided if I'm going to write about this game. I think I will. So if I do, then you can go to firstdownmag.com and read my in-depth analysis. But let's get right into it. We got Tyresö and the Limhamn Griffins. Keys to victory. Let's go Griffins first, then go Tyresö. Let's go Griffins. What do you think of keys to victory? Juice, you can go first.
Keys to victory for the Griffins. They need to establish the run game. As we've seen, Stockholm laid a blueprint for what they can do. Quick game, get the ball to your playmakers. Which were number 4, number 6, number 17 sometimes as well. I think he's a good player as well. They're gonna have to spread the ball, but I think the run game is going to be the major thing because I think they're going against the best DBs in the league, and as we saw, the best DBs can have some bad games. So, but lastly, I would just say just the mentality. If they come in, as I said earlier, with the perspective, okay, we need to win the playoff game, as if they did with the mentality that they played against their little derby down there in Skåne, that we're going to win this game and just believe. I don't want to use the believe in faith and pray and things like this. I believe that if they have the right mindset, they can win the game because we see anybody can play good when the game is on the line. And you got in the playoffs. Everybody is 0-0. There's no losing records. There's no winning records. Everyone is 0-0. So, again, if I give them a list, give the ball to your playmakers, number 4, number 6, a lot to number 6, sometimes 17, and just team come together with the proper mentality.
What about you, Antoine? What are your keys to victory for this squad?
Kind of like what you said. It's just all about mentality. It's about how you approach the game, how you come into the game. Don't get nervous about seeing a Tyresö on the front of the jerseys and the red and all the glitz and glamour because they are a better team. But like you just have to want to win this game, I think, and you just have to find a way to force them into making a few like uncommon errors in the game, and then you have to take advantage of that. Force some turnovers and then always take advantage of that. I wouldn't say I don't want to say focus too much on getting Nessers the ball because if you just keep on doing that, then they're just going to know, like, all right, he's really the only one that they're going to get the ball to. So let's just beat up on them. I mean, Stockholm laid the blueprint, but Stockholm has 3 running backs that can run the ball the same and look similar in doing it. So, and I don't think Ness's is on that level. So if you just keep feeding him the ball, I think he gets exhausted and gets tired, and then that might force him into making some mistakes. But it's just all about mentality. It's just all about how they approach this game, what they do, this week in practice. How they feeling, how they recovered from the game that they just played, and just finding a way to build on that. I mean, getting their quarterback more involved in the passing game. I think he has to spread the ball around. I think you gotta give other receivers an opportunity at least to, if they disappoint you and then you want to focus in on 1 or 2 guys, fine, but give everybody a chance, give them a couple targets each, and then just give them opportunity. And wide receivers, when you get that opportunity, the most important thing is catching the ball. Just catch the ball, even if you get 2 or 3 yards. Don't try to do too much. Don't try to play and don't try to make big plays happen. Just take what they're giving you and be happy with that, because that's moving the ball forward. If you try to do stuff that you're not accustomed to doing, like hurdling or trying to do a spin move, and you don't know how to secure the ball doing that, there goes a fumble, and then there goes all your momentum. So play within yourself and know who you are, and don't try to do anything beyond that.
Well, y'all both talking real what is it?
Like
very practical ideas what they could do. I'm going to tell you, Limhamn Griffins, you got to believe, because you only get one shot, and you got one moment. And in that one moment, I don't know why I keep saying this, but I feel like this is the only team that I really think is capable of doing this. Is you got to throw the kitchen sink at them, okay? You cannot go out there and do your normal plays and expect to beat a team that is more talented and probably a little bit better coached. Like, just they are. They have a little bit more experience. They've been in these type of situations. You haven't. But what you can do is amplify your strengths. Instead of worrying about your weaknesses, amplify your strengths. First of all, Alexander Nessich, he can do whatever the hell he want to do. I don't want to hear nothing about he can tote the pill 50 times. Y'all can win this game.
But I thought the same thing Anton was tripping for a second.
Yeah. I don't know where he got that from. But what I want to say, what I think is a strength of the Griffins that we don't see enough of, is the versatility of their players. Alexander Nessich, when they go Wildcat heavy, first of all, we're in the middle of the field, go Wildcat heavy. Don't wait till you get to the red zone. In the middle of the field, go Wildcat heavy, and you can turn, a 2nd and 10 into a touchdown, because the other team won't be prepared for that in the middle of the field. No one goes heavy in the middle of the field. So you go heavy with your actual running back, and he gets 2 extra blockers in the middle of the field. They have their 5 DBs on the field. They're not close to the line of scrimmage because they're expecting a regular run play. You overload the box, you run a counter or a sweep, and now he's one-on-one with a DB. I can take Nessich in that. I'm not saying that the Tyresö DBs can't tackle him in space, but he's not an easy person to take down. And now you're putting him in space in the middle of the field instead of waiting until you get to the red zone, which you might not never get to if you don't do this in the middle of the field. That Wildcat formation, use it more often. Have it be part of your offense. And then secondly, I'm going to look up here on my screen. There's a name I want to say. I don't think I can say this right, but I'm going to say it anyways. Adrian Porlofty. Porlofty? I think that's how you say his name. Number 5, running back for the Limhamn Griffins. Now, he plays sparingly when Nessich comes out the game. Put him in there. Give this little man the ball. He's just as fast as Nessich. He has a great vision when he has the ball, but he doesn't get a lot of reps because Nessich is a running back. Nessich can play receiver. You can have both of these guys on the field at the same time. Put your best players, put your most dynamic players on the field at the same time. You put Nessich at slot, he can run. You can still run jet sweeps to him. He can run routes just as well as Olaf Nilsson, who you can have on the other side of the field. Spread the defense out, and they thinking, Nessich is the guy to look at. We got to watch Olaf. And then you give number 5, Adrian, the ball, and then you got some room. And you're able to move the ball between those 3 guys. Then also the other receiver, number 17, Alfred Jenfers. He's pretty good. I don't trust his hands that much, but when you need him, I think that he'll make a play for you. Use your weapons. I think that's one thing the Griffins have to do offensively is they have to use their weapons, and in doing so, put up points to force Tyresö to score. If it gets to the point where Tyresö knows they can stop your offense, you're not going to win this game. Because then you're giving their offense plenty of time to figure stuff out, set you up later on. Bring back the double pass. We ain't seen that in a couple of weeks. Bring it back out there. Nessage could play quarterback. You can actually have him at regular quarterback and run your plays. He can do that for a couple of plays or so if you want to, and put them in a position where they don't know if he's going to run the ball or throw the ball from the quarterback position. You can put Adrian at slot receiver as well. Like, there's ways to move him around. I think they have enough time. They're smart enough. The players are good enough that you can move these chess pieces. And obviously, you don't want to do this all the time. But like I said at the very beginning, you got one shot. This is your moment. You got to believe. And if you believe that your team is capable of winning this game, you got to put your best players in the best positions to be successful. And you can do that. I don't know. I get this feeling that there's going to be this large, like, thinking that, oh, they're just not going to be good enough to beat Tyresö. As we said earlier in the show, Tyresö plays down to their competition. They don't play at their highest level all the time. Rarely do they. And this is one of those opportunities where if they think that you're not that good, they might not take you seriously enough, and you can upset them. I believe the Limhamn Griffins can beat the Tyresö Royal Crowns because the Tyresö Royal Crowns are beatable every week. And you have to believe that in your heart that your team is good enough to beat them. Don't let me believe it for you. You got to believe it. That's all I'm going to say for it because I feel like I'm getting on soapbox. So moving on to the other team, Tyresö Royal Crowns. How do you think they can win this one? Antoine, you lead it off.
Just don't make the same mistakes you made this past weekend. Don't let one mistake snowball into 3 or 4. Just take it play by play and just go out there and play the brand of football that you've been playing all year. And obviously going into this game that you know that you're the better team. So show it, prove it, and then, get the dub and go on to play Stockholm again and try to win in that game. But just you're the better team, so just play like it.
Juice, words of wisdom.
I mean, to be honest, I don't really have words of wisdom for them. Tyresö know who they are in this matchup. They know that they should have been a 2 seed, but they didn't play like that, so they're the 3 seed. I mean, they're going against the lowest seed team, so they need to just dominate the game. Simply win the game by taking out number 6, taking out number 4, having awareness of number 17 when you're on defense. We don't know who this quarterback is, put pressure on him, see if that slows him down, but he's a pretty decent quarterback, so don't sleep on him. Have an awareness of this guy. On the offense side of the ball, take shots. Hopefully Double V is back and put the ball in Double V's hands. It's quite simple. Play Tyresö football. I'm not going to add more to this situation. Tyresö knows exactly who they are and what they should do.
I was going to say I have very similar short thing. For Tyresö, Jared Hayward, let him cook. I don't know what they got going on with like the play calling situation and deciding when they want this to happen and that to happen. But if they just let this man cook, let him kind of be comfortable in what he's doing and run the plays how he wants to, they'll be fine. I feel like a lot of times they're kind of trying to manufacture an offense instead of just letting the offense flow through him. If he's your quarterback, he's the leader, let him lead. If they let Jared Hayward cook, they put up 50 on anybody in the league. Easy. But that's just not what they've been doing. So in this game, just let him cook. I mean, you're better team. Let him do his thing. I mean, I don't want to be too like coach specific, but let him be the coordinator. Let him call the plays. See how that works. I feel like sometimes he's just not really comfortable in what they're doing. Like it seems like they're forcing him to do some stuff that I just think he can do anything you want and he will do it. But there's some things that he probably can see that can just make this so much easier for their offense. I think maybe a little more hurry up and let him just kind of run through the plays and then run all together. I think they'll get in a little bit better rhythm and be able to kind of just run through the Griffins that way. That's what I think they need to do. So I'm going to leave it at that. We'll move on to the next game. OBK versus Oslo. Let's go. Örebro Black Knights, keys to victory. Juice, what you got?
Ooh. This is going to be a interesting matchup, but I think both teams have keys to victory. I'll be honest. But keys to victory offensively for Örebro Black Knights.
Yeah.
Trevor Vasey, man. You know, we've been knocking it, but play backyard football, baby. Play backyard football, you know? If I keep it a buck, I don't think that Oslo DBs can really match up against what we know Örebro wants to do. They want to pass the ball. They don't want to run the ball. And if they can mix in that run in there, that'd be a bonus if the run works out, if they get Eklund. And I think number 6, I don't remember his name. He was a pretty good running back for them later in the season. So play backyard football offensively. Defensively, I mean, also on offense, you know, make sure you circle number 1, you know, because he is their best player on the defense. So moving on to Örebro's defense, that's where the challenge is going to be, because we know that Oslo has playmakers on the offense side of the ball. They may not do it in the best fashion, but, you know, number 3, you better make sure that you circling him. Schneider, the dude Fingler as well, and it's another. They got the whole receiving core. I think is pretty decent at this point. They got really good people on the field, and they got to be able to stop the run, because as we seen number 8, he was getting about 5 yards a pop, bro. 5.
Yeah,
he was doing his thing, running the ball. So if it comes down to it being a good game, it can be a shutout, or it can be a low scoring game if teams game plan right. So defensively, make sure you circle their playmakers. You guys already know who they are. It's already evident on film, and you already played against them before. And don't think, and it's the mentality part. These are words of wisdom. Don't think just because you beat them early in the season that they're the same team, because they're not the same team.
Nope.
So make sure you get your mind right.
What about you, Antoine? What do you got for keys of victory for OBK?
I'm gonna take a similar approach and just talk about, because I think both teams have the same. This playoff game is the closest one and the hardest one to call if you're looking at the playoffs as a whole bracket. Like, this one is the toughest one to kind of figure out who's going to win. But for both sides, like, I think both sides struggle in the DB aspect of the game. So I think both teams both defensive and offensive lines, I think the game's going to be won there. Don't let Sebastian Nielsen get pressure on CJ Fowler. Give him the Oslo's offensive line has to step up and give CJ time to throw the ball, give him time to make smart decisions, and give him time to take advantage of their weak DBs. And that's the same thing on the other side of the ball for Örebro. Their offensive line has to step up, because I do think their DBs and their offensive line are the 2 weak spots of their team. So definitely, you know, take advantage of that, step up, give Vasey time. Even though he wants to do those long rollouts and he wants time for the receivers routes and stuff to develop, give him a little bit more time so that he doesn't have to drop back so far, or he can make a more calculated decision of, okay, I don't have it, or this route isn't taking time, and here's a lane for me to run in. So try to create lanes for him to run in and things of that nature. But yeah, I mean, both teams have weapons in the receiving spots. Both teams, I think, are going to want to try to throw the ball as much as possible. So yeah, it's just all about who steps up. What's DB core is going to step up and make enough plays for you, and then the running game of Oslo, I think, is definitely better than Örebro. So take advantage of that as well. So if you want to keep them off the field, let Rooney run the ball. Give him the ball. Let him get you. Let him get you 3 or 4 yards of carry, and then start hitting on the short routes to the receivers. And I think they'll be fine. As long as they can consistently move the ball down the field, I think they'll be fine. And I think if Örebro don't try to rely on the big plays, because Vasey can throw the ball 80 yards down the field. Mm-hmm. I get it. We get it. He has a big arm. Like, don't rely on that, because I think if you start relying on that, then that's when it's going to lead to mistakes and it's going to be problematic.
You kind of went both teams, so
exactly.
That's fine. Yeah. So I'll go OBK and then switch over real quick. OBK, very simple. stop Will Saul, you'll be all right. You keep him from making all the damn plays, and you'll be able to score enough points to win. You're going to give up points. I don't care. It's football. Everybody scores. But as long as you're able to outscore them, which I think y'all's offense can outscore them, you just got to avoid Will Saul and not let him change the game. That includes special teams as well. You know, we just seen him return a kickoff for a touchdown. Let's put a lid on that. Maybe put our starters on special teams. I don't know why no one else does that. As long as OBK goes out there and doesn't let Will Saul like be too effective against their offense, they should be able to put enough points. Their defense will still give up points, but their offense should be able to score enough points on Oslo's defense because I have zero faith in Oslo's defense away from number one. Like he's on their defense that does anything. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I just mean it factually. If that makes sense. Like it's just the way it is. Now, flipping to Oslo and what they need to do to win, I guess the opposite of what I just said. Make sure Will Saul plays both sides of the ball and is able to affect the game at the highest level in the most important moments. I think offensively, you're going to score points. Oslo's going to be able to score points. Again, it's going to come down to stopping Örebro's offense, getting them uncomfortable. And we've noticed, the backyard football, that's kind of what they play because their offensive line is not very good. I would go the opposite way of like trying to create too much pressure and don't have pressure. Make OBK run the ball. Give them a 4-man box. See what they do. Like if they decide to pass it with a 4-man box and you got 7 people in coverage, good luck, right? Like they're not going to be anywhere for him to put the ball. So they're going to have to run the ball. If they run the ball, you still got Will Saul. He could be 35 yards on the sideline. He's going to make the play. You're going to be all right. But you're better off giving him 3 or 4 yards in the run game than letting Trevor Vasey run around, come up with something that he drew up in the dirt, and then hit you for 45 yards or a touchdown. Because you know your DBs can't handle them. Like you know it. So take it out of that hand. Force them to run the ball. Force them to say, hey, we're going to actually bring in a fullback or a tight end and we're going to run the ball. Force them to give it to Eklund to show you that he's better than what we've seen so far this year. That's what I believe Oslo has to do is play their own offense like they normally do defensively, force OBK to run the ball instead of pass. See what happens. Juice, what are you thinking for Oslo to keys to victory?
Defensively, I want to start off with that first because we know that that's where the struggle is going to be in the game for Oslo. So I want to start with the defense. I almost go opposite of what you just said. I think that they need to put pressure on Vasey or have one person spine Vasey because when he's trying to move around, someone needs to put that pressure on him where he has to make a extremely hard throw because that's the best thing that Örebro has. You know, their run game, we've seen it happen, but we know that's not their MO. The MO is passing the ball and letting Vasey cook, you know. So I don't know if that needs to be Will. I mean, I know Will needs to be a superhero, and Will's probably going to have to play both sides of the ball. At the end of the day, for every team in the playoffs right now, you know, you got to go hard or go home. Do what you got to do. Will got to play both sides of the ball. Let him play both sides of the ball. Then offensively, you know, that's where they're going to have to just score. Like, we know they're going to have to circle up Sebastian Nilsson, of course. They need to put a circle around Sebastian Nilsson because he's a man on that D-line. A man. Oh, my God. I almost called him Northfleet. Go ahead.
CJ Fowler. CJ Fowler.
Hey, forgive me, CJ. No disrespect at all. You're a dog. If they put too much pressure on him and he's not able to get the ball to Snyder and Fingler and these other receivers that they have, it's going to be a long day. It's going to be a long day for Oslo. So circle up Sebastian and get the ball offense to your playmakers and try to score as much as possible. Get the ball to 82 as well. That's all I got for them.
What about you, Antoine? What are you thinking for Oslo? I mean, you already gave us game, but wrap it up for us one more time.
Like I said, just give CJ enough time to make smart throws with the ball. Utilize your run game. For the guys in the trenches on the O-line and the D-line, play aggressive. Just consistently win your battle. Take it play by play. When you go in that huddle, take a deep breath and be like, all right, I may have lost that last play, but I'm about to get back on this next play. So just take it play by play. Don't ever play too far ahead if Örebro get to lead in the game, which at some point they probably will, or they may, just don't ever feel defeated. Don't ever look at it like, oh man, we're down. And then because that's as soon as that thought creeps in, like, oh, we're down and we're losing the game, I feel like heads go down, motivation goes down, and then that's when mistakes start to creep up and happen. So just always just be present in the game. Take it play by play and just win each play. And if you win each play and you win enough of them, you're gonna win the game. So that's really it.
I'm gonna let us move on, but I'm gonna throw out this one last idea that just popped in my head. Don't be afraid to put Will Saul at quarterback, man. It's the playoffs. It's the playoffs. Like, I wouldn't be afraid to do it. I think it'd be entertaining if you put Will Saul at quarterback and ran a Wildcat. I mean, he's still gonna run the ball. But I'm not saying like have him play quarterback, but I'm saying if you have a package where you can put him out there, I think that might be helpful. That might be something that, tips the scales and throws them off their game just enough that it gives you an advantage. I'm saying it's the playoffs. Play it like it's the playoffs. It is win or go home. Like, it's great that they beat, 3 Swedish teams, but let's do it like what Antoine said. They ain't really beat nobody. Like, they beat the bottom teams. So this is how you prove that you really deserve to be in this league. And I believe they gotta, throw the kitchen sink at them. It's playoffs. Playoffs.
Playoffs.
Let's get into our picks.
Drip, grind, and stand out. That's the Improved Athletes way. Improved Athletes, a European sports brand based in Milano. If you want to look good and be successful in athletics, go and head over to improveathletes.com to stand out with your new drip.
All right, fourth quarter, our weekend picks brought to you by our partners at Improved Athletes, where you can grind, drip, and stand out. Our picks will be available on Instagram at Pro Football Sweden, where you can make your comments. No need to flood the DMs. First game, Tyresö Royal Crowns versus Limhamn Griffins. Juice, tell us who you got and why.
Tyresö Royal Crowns versus Limhamn Griffins. I think we all kind of going with the same pick on this one. But I do got faith that there's going to be some good plays by Limhamn Griffin. But simply speaking, I'm going Tyresö.
What about you?
Why?
Oh, yeah, why? Why? Sorry.
Why? We know why.
We know why. What about you, Mr. Allen?
Hey, man, Tyresö Royal Crowns. Why? Because they're better, obviously. Because they're the better team.
I'm going to also go with Tyresö because they're the better team. I mean, it is what it is. But I want to put a little asterisk, a disclaimer, like, Limhamn, prove me wrong, man. Prove me wrong.
Same.
Like,
prove me wrong, too.
Prove me wrong. I feel like, again, we all said the same thing, because they're the better team. Limhamn, you can lose this game and still prove us wrong.
Yeah.
Because we're basically just saying they have better players. It's not encouraging, but it's one of those things where they've proven, like we said, that, they're the better of the D1 teams. But if they could just beat in this game and it's not a blowout, that could be a type of moral victory for them. And that's what I'm saying, because I'm obviously not picking them. But in their locker room,
put up a fight. That's it. Put up a fight.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Right, this y'all last game. Be honest, this y'all last game.
Again, throw the kitchen sink at them. I just feel like if the Griffins go out there, and it's 7-21 heading into the fourth quarter, I like the way they play.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm talking about. But if it's 28-0 at half, why you here? Like, what you here for?
Don't make me turn the game off at halftime. Please, I just want to watch a whole game.
Full game.
If it's a blowout at halftime, I don't care what happens in the second half. I don't care if it's like 56 and it ends up being like 28. I don't care, because I turned the game off at halftime.
I don't watch it up by 3 scores. I don't know if I said this on there. If a team is up by 3 scores, I give the other team a rebuttal drive. You get a rebuttal. If you score on that drive, I keep watching. But if you don't score on that drive, I'm out. That's like, that's when you playing Madden and you skunk somebody. Yeah,
Yeah.
21 get off the sticks.
Nah,
That's
come
what
on,
we're saying.
bro.
21 get off the sticks. And I've evolved, so I give you a rebuttal. Where I'm from, as soon as it's 21, you gotta get off the sticks. But I guess I played against somebody from up north, and they was like, "Why get one drive to rebuttal?" I'm like, okay, I guess. Well, so I give you a rebuttal. I'm a nice guy. But the second game is Örebro Black Knights versus Oslo Vikings. Antoine, I'll let you take this one first. Who you got and why?
I don't know. I can go get a coin and flip it. I just don't know. These teams they're not that different. They're very similar to me. Fuck it. Oslo's been on a winning streak. I'm picking Oslo. I'm picking Oslo.
Why? But why? Give us a reason.
You said they're on a winning streak.
Because they're on the winning streak. They've been playing good. And honestly, they played a AIK team this past week that actually put up a decent fight and made them actually work a little bit for the win. Yeah, so it just showed a lot that they can go out there and get a win that they much needed and secure a playoff spot. But I think it's their goal to beat one of the 4 established teams. I do think that's one of their main goals and one of their main priorities. And it just so happens that they're going against the most beautiful of them. So yeah, man, I just got faith. I got a little bit of faith in them. They shown me a lot these last 3 weeks. So I think the winning streak continues for one more week.
I just want to put it out there. Antoine don't know how to feel about the Oslo Vikings.
I don't.
I'm so confused. Beginning of the season, he was like, I don't know who they are. 2 weeks after the season started, he was like, I like them. I like them a lot. And then he was like, I don't know if they're that good.
I don't like they're the most confusing team to me because I've seen them in many different forms and many different. But the last 3 weeks, what I have seen is consistency, and we've been preaching that a lot about some of the other teams, which we haven't seen it from. So they've been very consistent. So I think they play a little bit better this week, definitely because there's a lot more in the line, and I don't think we see that many mistakes. I think they will really take advantage of who they are, and that's the thing too. They never play outside of like who they are.
Yeah.
They never try to do too much. It's just like, hey, we're just going to take what you've given us, and we're just gonna. If this is working, if the run is working, they stick with the run. If the short passes are working, they stick with short passes. They just do what works, and they do it to get the job done. So I have a little bit more confidence in the way that they approach and play the game than Örebro kind of. Slightly, it's not a lot. It's slight, but
a little bit.
Yeah.
What about you, Juice? Who and why?
Yeah, I feel Anton, but not with the pick. I do. Like, I really do. I was thinking about this before early in this morning. I was like, man, I got to pray on this. And I got here and I still need to pray on this. I really do not know. I really want to go with Oslo because of the streak, and I got faith in them. I like Oslo as a city, but I have to go with Örebro on this one. I do, and the reason why is because I just don't think that when it comes down to the full fight that's going to last. I think that Örebro has been an established organization, always had that fight in them. Their DBs for Oslo is not going to be able to match up with Trevor Vasey, playing backyard football, throwing it up, and you get the Lineage brothers. You got Murphy, who might play both ways. Then 14, brain fart in his name, but I just don't think that they can match up with them. When it comes to that. Then I think defensively as well. I think that the pressure from Örebro's D line is going to dominate. And I do think that Oslo got some good things. They got some good things going for them as well, but it's not going to be enough.
That makes sense. Okay, so I'm the decide and vote. I want it to be a push. Can we get a tie? Can we get a tie out here, guys?
Hell no, they no tie.
I want 6 overtimes. I want to just flip a coin. I'm gonna go. Oh man, I don't know who I want to pick either.
Yeah, I'm gonna be fair and I'm gonna predict overtime. It's gonna be overtime win. How about that? It's an overtime win.
I don't think it's gonna be no overtime. I'm gonna go with Oslo Vikings. I still think it's a push on both sides. I think both teams are gonna be able to score. I don't have any faith in either one of their secondaries against the other team. But I think when it comes down to it's gonna take a game-changing play here or there. I only see one outlier, and that's number 1, Will Sowell. And I think he makes that one play that really separates the game, and then they both settle in. But that one play will be the difference. I can see it being a 1 touchdown difference game, or maybe it being 2 or 3 because something happens and strange events. Maybe there's an onside kick or something, or he takes a kickoff back, or he gets an interception and takes it back for 6. That's a 12-point swing. So like something like that, I see that happening, and it's the playoffs. I think for the Vikings, this is it. Like this is where you show if you're good enough. While for the Black Knights, you made the playoffs as you were expected to do. Like this is part of it. You're expected to get to the top 4. The other team is just in your way. Oslo, this is it for them. Like they know it's win or go home. I think for the OBK, it's more of this is a team we have to defeat to get to our goals. And I think that little bit of difference might show up on the field in the way that these two teams play. I think the Vikings have to play like this is their last game of the season, and I think they will. I've kind of been rooting for them from the beginning of the season. Even though that gauntlet was tough, I still thought that they were a team that would get to the playoffs and be able to be in a position to win that playoff game. And even though they lost the last game against this team, they've seen them play enough. That's one thing that I've been kind of harping on about the Vikings is this whole season they've been learning how to play against these teams. And I think they're at the point now, especially after the 3 weeks of being able to play teams that aren't necessarily as talented as the other ones, allowing them to do what they do. Those first 4 games, they couldn't figure out what they were good at because it was, going through the gauntlet. Like you can't know what concepts work if the other team is so much better than you or there's so much pressure. And now these last 3 weeks, they figured out what works for them. And now they're going to be playing against a team that ultimately is going to allow them to do what works for them because these two teams are so evenly matched. So I think in this game, they're kind of the better team in this matchup. So that's why I'm going to go with them for this one. And yeah, I think that's picks. I think we're good.
Hey there, sports fans. Are you interested in exciting sports of American football, flag football, or field hockey? Well, look no further because Sweet 3, the sweetest association for these sports, has got you covered. Sweet 3 is not just about games. They're about building a community, players of all ages and backgrounds coming together, supporting each other, and having an absolute blast on the field. Sweet 3 is proud to be an advocate for the Swedish sports movement where integrity and sportsmanship reign supreme. So whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, come join Sweet 3 and experience the magic of sports like never before. Visit the Sweet 3 website and get in on the action today. Sweet 3, where passion meets purpose.
All right, that's it for this episode of Pro Football in Sweden. Anything we missed that needs to be discussed, guys? Juice, anything you want to throw out there?
No, I just want to say that good luck to all the teams that's playing this weekend. It's go hard or go home. You only get one shot at this. Everyone, as I said earlier, is 0-0. There's no records. We remember what you've done in the past. We know your weaknesses. So play like this is going to be your last game and fight to the end. Playoffs is nothing more beautiful than playoffs, tournaments, championships, environments. Your film is your resume. Whatever you put on film is who you are. And that's how we're going to perceive it, and that's what we're going to comment on. And if you put garbage on film, we're going to let y'all know. That's all I got for my closing thoughts.
Antoine, you got anything you want to throw out there?
Yeah, I got one thing. So I know that we picked Oslo Vikings to win, but I think looking ahead, I think the Coastal Crusaders want Oslo Vikings to win too, because I think that's a better matchup for them. If Örebro wins, I think that's a tougher matchup for Costa, in my opinion. But yeah, anyways, good luck to all the teams that are playing this weekend. Like Drew said, this is the playoffs. Teams are 0-0, so go out there and we have seen you in the past. We have seen you play, but it's the playoffs. This right now, it's win or go home. If you do not win, you will be at home watching the rest of the playoffs on the couch and listening to us talk about the rest of the playoffs and how you could have been there, but you're not. So go out there and play. It is your last game. It's everybody's last game, technically, besides the winner of this game. So it's very important to go out there and get a win. And yeah, man, just play with pride, man. Play for the man that's lined up next to you play for the name on the front of the jersey, not the name on the back. Just go out there and just make some great plays and give us something to talk about next week.
Half of them ain't got no name on the back. This is Sweden. They don't even do jerseys with names on the back. I want to give a shout out to K-Town Predators and AIK. You know, y'all be with us this weekend on the couch watching the games. I'd like to know who y'all supporting. You know, y'all supporting, Limhamn, D1 buddies for life, or you rooting for the other team to beat them? Who do you like that you probably already lost to earlier? So you kind of have a little bit insight on which teams you think are better. So shout out to the teams at home. It is what it is. Shout out to the other two teams at home, Stockholm Mean Machine, Karlstad Crusaders, because y'all get to wait and watch and know that y'all are actually going to be playing again in the future. So you got 4 teams watching and you got 4 teams playing. So there should be a lot of views this weekend. There should be a lot of content going on online. There should be a lot of trash talking. There should be a lot of analysis from everybody. I'm here for it. Let's keep it going. So with that, lastly, good luck to all the teams that are actually playing this weekend. And we'll be back next week with more insights and opinions. Please like, follow, and subscribe on all social channels at Pro Football Sweden. Stay out of our DMs, and we'll see you next week. Adios.
Later.
Peace out.